There's always going to be somebody out there telling you that they're doing a lot better than you, that they invested in the better investments than you, that they timed the market better than you, and that their portfolio is a lot better than you. Why does that matter? Should you get locked into that? Should you care? Should you give a hoot about that? And should you adjust your portfolio based on what other people are telling you? Here's one of my beefs with the investment world. There will always be somebody telling you that they are doing better than you in the investments. My buddy is sitting in cash while the market sells off. My cousin invested in Bitcoin and made a ton of money. My cab driver suggested I invest in cannabis because it's the next big thing. Those individuals are always going to make you feel as though you're missing out and that they're making money in sectors that you're not invested in. And if you keep hearing about these financial wins, it's going to drive you crazy. If you keep hearing about them and you're not participating in them, it's going to drive you crazy. Never mind that you don't know what that person's goals are, their objectives are, their risk tolerances, their liquidity needs, their long-term horizon, their tax situation. Never mind all that, right? What you hear is they're in a sector or a stock that I'm not in, they're telling me they're making money, and I'm upset, I'm livid. If that sounds familiar, and if that sounds that might be you, it might be you dealing with one of those sins called envy, right? You're envious of the returns. You want to do as well as others, and you want to do it without the risk, and you want to do it without sacrificing anything else in your personal investment situation. So let me push back against that notion right now, and let me dispel some of those myths. First off, your uncle is not always making the right calls. Most of the time, whenever you hear about the hot new tip, hot new sector, hot new investment class, it's probably close to being a bubble that is bursting, right? They all end up bursting, whether it's cannabis or crypto or tech or anything that's not rooted in a cash flow or an investment that's a net present value of future earnings or that has a proven lifespan of being profitable will likely blow up at some point. Okay, so if you're not buying a company because you truly want to own that company and the prospects of that company are optimistic, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons, and that will likely not end well. Your buddy doesn't have the magic bullet. They're not running some magic system. They haven't figured out a trading algorithm. That is not real. That is BS, okay? If it was true, we'd all be billionaires, okay? What's proven is buying quality companies, protecting capital, taking emotion out of the market, optimizing your rebalancing, making sure you're buying the best risk-adjusted investments that money could possibly buy, and obviously proper, prudent planning. There is no magic bullet to this, okay? Number 3, your buddy's not telling you about all their losses. They're telling you about all their wins. Why? Because they're bragging and there's no one to verify that statement. I tell you I made money in one stock. I don't need to tell you about the losses I had in 9 or 10 or 15 stocks. If I were to just tell you about all my wins, all my doubles and triples, well, it's a lot better story than to tell you about the losses I've had also. So remember, there's a natural bias here when people are telling you about their successes in their portfolios. If they're telling you about one specific stock, one specific sector, or one specific period of performance, whether it's 3 months or 6 months or 1 month, there's a huge bias there. They are selecting what story to tell you. Remember that. Number 4, they can't avoid all losses and neither can you. Unless you're investing in a completely guaranteed portfolio and making almost no returns, there will be some periods, some sectors, some equities, some bonds that have periods where there are losses. It's going to happen. You cannot avoid that. The fact that that person is telling you they've completely figured it out, they've figured out the way, the system, the period, the algorithm, you know that's straight up not possible. It's not true. And finally, number 5, they aren't you and you aren't them. You have no idea what their risk tolerance is and they have no clue about your risk tolerance, your need for cash, the different setup of your accounts, if you're incorporated or not, if you have tax problems, if you have planning needs, if you have estate requirements and estate needs and RESP accounts and RESP needs. None of that is factored in when an individual is giving you one piece of advice on one specific stock or sector. It's not real. Now, I'm not trying to say that your friends and family can't give you good advice. They can absolutely give you good advice. Some of that good advice should be, focus on earnings, focus on defensive investments, make sure you're diversified, make sure you've planned out your liquidity needs, make sure proper retirement planning is in place, plan for your estate needs. All that is very good advice. but that doesn't mean they should be telling you buy X and sell Y. It's probably not advice you want to take from a friend, a buddy, a cab driver, or a distant uncle. All of them, all of your friends, your buddies, your people you're seeing online that are tweeting and talking and TikToking about how much money they're making in a specific stock or sector, they're doing it probably because they want the attention, probably because they need that in their life, because they might have a lot of losses in certain things. But who knows? What we do know is that there's no free lunch, and that at the end of the day, what's important is you being comfortable with your portfolio, having a good discussion with your advisor, and making sure that you've structured a custom portfolio that's good for you. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. Be careful of the free advice out there. I'm Rob Tetrault from robtetrault.com, portfolio manager at CG Wealth and the Tetrault Wealth Advisory Group. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, smash the bell, make sure you're notified when we put out new content, and I will see you in the next video.